I watched Critical Role for the first time today. I'd heard of the show and seen short clips, but I never really went and clicked on a video. I wasn't surprised, in the sense that I knew it was like a bunch of voice actors that got together and played Dungeons and Dragons, okay? But I watched a couple episodes for the first time today, and I had some questions about that show. And the number one question was, who is this for? And I didn't really know who it was for, because I started going back and thinking through my mind, like, well, I mean, it's not for me. And I'm kind of a tabletop RPG person. And I would watch a live stream of someone playing their games. Like I've started looking around at people playing various live streams to get an idea of how the game plays. There's a few small channels who are running Savage Worlds, and I was gonna watch them play. Like, so it's I'm not against watching other people play nerdy games with dice. I mean, when I wasn't playing nerdy games with dice, I was a little bit more like, not my thing. But anyway, so I'm watching Critical Role, and I think I was watching them play a Dungeons and Dragons game. They also had one that was like a Haunted Mansion or a Call of Cthulhu. I scrolled through their channel for a little while, but I didn't watch any video to its fullest extent, because I got the idea that I didn't know who this was actually for. And, with millions of views, I'm like, it's obviously for someone, but I don't know who that is. And so I kind of, let me explain one other aspect of it, okay? So beyond the fact that they're selling a lot of products, and, they're selling obvious products like the games that they make, and then they're selling, the product that they're playing, which is like Dungeons and Dragons. On top of that, they're also selling themselves as actors, like as personalities. So, this could be like an audition tape that you send to, I don't know, Blizzard or something, and go, yo, your next game, my voice, because there was an aspect of the game that felt very inauthentic, or just not organic. Matt Mercer is playing the Dungeon Master, and, he's doing a fantastic job of just on the fly coming up with random things. And previously, when I'd heard people talk about Critical Role, I heard them say that the show is scripted. Or at least that was an accusation that was made. And I didn't get that idea. I didn't get the idea the show is scripted at all. But I did get the idea that the people who were playing with Matt Mercer, and I only knew one of them, the girl from The Last of Us, the rest of them all seemed to be responding as though they were being filmed on camera. Like there was a point where Matt Mercer is just rolling all the dice as a damaging attack against one of the players. And my thought was like, why aren't they flipping out? Like, I mean, their characters are about to die or whatever, and I'm like, I'm thinking of kind of a real table with real people at it, especially in a Dungeons and Dragons setting where it's like, you're not supposed to kill these players. Anyways, it came off as very inauthentic. It came off, okay, let me side note and give you an example of what I mean. So, I don't know if you've ever watched any video game presentations, like they used to have E3. That may still be a thing. At E3 on occasion, they used to show a video game, like, for example, The Division or Anthem, okay? And what they do is they take like this, it's almost like a pre-rendered thing, where, in-game characters are walking and doing stuff and, shooting bad guys and collecting gear and whatever else, okay? And then they pay some actors to voice the players playing those characters. You know what I'm talking about? Like Anthem had a very obvious one, and so did The Division. I think the first and the second Division. There's probably many more examples, but it's like a trailer, but it's not a trailer with real gameplay, and it's not a trailer with real players. There's people saying things that no human being would ever say while playing a video game. I can't think of a specific line of example, but if you want, you can just go look up I think it's like the 2016 or 17 Anthem pre-rendered trailer, and you'll get what I'm saying. Like when I was watching Critical Role, I got real EA trailer, like game trailer vibe. Does that make sense? And it's like some of it was just the way that the players were responding, which made me think, like, this is unfair. I know. At first, one of the thoughts I had, and I'm going to be honest, the first one of the thoughts I had was like, maybe I'm jealous of them, because they're wildly successful and they're all like famous people and stuff. And so then I had to accept that. I had to receive that and accept it. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably a little jealous. Like Matt Mercer, he's a pretty cool dude, in his long hair, and he's just real chill. And so then I had to go, okay, there's probably some jealousy in here. So let me accept that, and then let me see if I'm still bothered or whatever, And once I got over my own jealousy of their success, I then interacted with the fact that there was something off about it, right? Somewhat in the sense where the players were responding as though they were actors, I may not be explaining this well, but the point is, I at the end of watching several different of their videos, I had the question, who is this for? Like, okay, if you're a player of, Wizards of the Coast, or if you're a DM, do you watch Critical Role? Like, does that help you? Like obviously maybe watching Matt Mercer interact with his players might give you some ideas about how to better DM your game. But at the same time, my thought was it's going to give you a false sense of expectations for how players would respond. Because these were all people who, like, one, they know they're on camera. Two, they all have, like, careers involved in voice acting, and none of them can throw a fit. Like, there's not a single one of them who's going to throw their dice at Matt Mercer for doing it wrong. Unless I'm mistaken and that episode has happened, these are all people who are career-minded, right? Like, they're almost on a job audition at the moment. Like, no one's going to throw a chair. So saying that, I'm thinking of like my own son. He hasn't thrown a chair, but okay. So all right. So that was my experience with Critical Role. Just coming out of it, going like, who's this for? And again, it's not a rhetorical question. My summary of it, like, I'll discard that. If people are like, yeah, you should definitely watch Critical Role to learn how to be a DM or a player, I'll consider that. And then if I have 3 or 4 hours just to do nothing, or like I'm painting, maybe I'll put them on. Let me know your thoughts. Second thing that happened that got me thinking, maybe Dungeons and Dragons, like, the trademark Wizards of the Coast D&D, maybe that thing is anti-tabletop RPG. And that was, I watched a video, I don't remember the name of the person who put it up, but I'll post a link to their channel down below. I've already forgotten, it's Wizardry or something or other. Anyways, they had an overview of the Wizards of the Coast, like, Direct, like the Dungeons and Dragons Direct, I think that's what it's called. And so they were going over a bunch of the different things that D&D is doing. Like, okay, they're releasing their player's handbook in like September or something. And then the monster manual comes out like 5 months later or something. And then like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have some kind of staggered release of their product. Like, you need all 3 of these parts to put them together into a whole, but they're releasing them like live updates or something. Anyway, so, okay, and that was like, all right, fine, whatever. Maybe it's a production or an employee thing or something. Disregard that. And then eventually this person giving the overview of the D&D Direct went over the virtual tabletop stuff. And that's where my mind went like, oh, okay, hang on a second. They might be trying to turn Dungeons and Dragons into Baldur's Gate, like the Larian video game. With hey, it's free to start. That first one's free. Like, you can build a dungeon. But if you want to buy a token for your player, $50. You want to buy a skimpy bikini for your player, $50. Or more, right? I mean, like, you're going to start selling the costumes. So, like, if you want to make your girl figure pretty, or you want to make your guy figure handsome or armored, or and I was like, that's rife with corrupted potential. And look, I don't have any direct line to Wizards of the Coast or Dungeons and Dragons or any of that. I'm just asking questions. Like, if you're a player playing Dungeons and Dragons and you're having a great time, like, just ignore me. And if you're watching Critical Role and you really enjoy it, also ignore me. But I still kind of want to understand. Like, I want to understand, like, because as I'm exploring the tabletop RPG space, here's the thing I'm getting, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm getting an idea that the whole spirit, like the zeitgeist of this thing, is to get people off of their phones, is to get people off of the iPad and the video games and come together, if you can, in community, but there's also like the online, but to come together and have real interactions, as real as possible, right? because everyone's got like their little VR headset on all the time, and like they're deconstructing their personal relationships with people, and it's terrible. Like, we're all interacting with each other like we're each making straw man arguments about things, and no one's taking time to go, are you making a fair point? Is your criticism fair or warranted? And so, the more and more we get stilted in this digital interaction, the more likely we are to depersonalize people. Like if I go on Twitter or Facebook, which I try to rarely do, but if I go on there, like there's something that just bubbles up inside of me, and I'm like, that person and their thoughts and ideas, and it's like, because it's like interacting with bots. Speaking of which, interacting with bots, I am going to make a video asking your thoughts and opinion about AI art, but I've already covered the gamut of topics in this video, so I'm going to leave it there, stop rambling, and cut it for today. I really appreciate everyone's help with the live stream yesterday. I'm sorry I was so nervous. Once I got going, it was pretty chill, but it was like, a little bit, because I'm like, it's live. I actually even had the thought, like in the middle of it, I had this thought, like, just turn it off. Like there's going to be people in the chat, and they're like, what happened? And it was just like, it was a panic moment. It was like, So I appreciate everyone who's was bearing with me through that, and then also anyone who went and watched afterwards. I'm so sorry. So I want to get better at that too, though. So I'll probably set up some sort of weekly schedule or something. Let me recap this video, because I've now gone off on a new tirade. Is Dungeons and Dragons culture, like the official Wizard of the Coast, is the culture of that system anti-tabletop RPG? And I broke down the various different reasons, okay? And then, if not, or if so, let me know. And then the second question is kind of like, who are these things for? Like Critical Role and Dungeons and Dragons, and if Dungeons and Dragons, last point, promise. If Dungeons and Dragons turns into cooperative, semi-live Baldur's Gate, what is that? Like you get to take your custom character around, and here there's the wall, you can hit the interact button, and now the thing crumbles down and covers the goblins, and now you can go to the ballista and hit the button, and like if it becomes cooperative Baldur's Gate, like is it still a tabletop RPG? Just because we have a virtual tabletop, have we totally gutted the spirit of this community game? All right, there's my soapbox moment here. Let me position that properly there. I'm standing on a soapbox. Thank you so much for listening, for responding to these silly questions. I appreciate your time. God bless you. Have a great week. I will probably put up a video tomorrow before I go off to camp. Maybe with the DM mistakes. That's it. Okay, I'm all done. God bless you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.